So, as you can see, this footage looks a little bit different. And the reason why is because, well, what you're seeing now is the world of infrared. I've gone ahead and bought myself a digital infrared camera. And the reason why is quite simple. I do videos about shooting infrared film, and I thought they just didn't look right. It just looks strange seeing the world normal or just in black and white and normal panchromatic spectrum. And instead, I thought it would be much better to shoot them in infrared. So I've done quite a few videos on infrared. I've done what ISO infrared should be. I've also done how to shoot infrared and like videos about trichroming and double exposures. But I found that even with, shooting Mount Fuji on infrared, the footage just didn't hit right. It just wasn't there. And those videos that I did in 2023 and 24, I want to redo them because I've gone ahead and got myself a camera like this one. So, like I said, I've been shooting infrared for quite a while. In fact, even much longer than I've been shooting it as film for the past 2-3 years. I've been shooting it, more than a decade. My very first digital camera, or should I say my very first infrared digital camera that I got to use was a Nikon D10. And that only did photos, which means I couldn't do any videos with it, even though I tried. And I've always wanted to go ahead and do infrared video footage, but it was just too expensive. And even now, when I've got a lot more money, it's still quite expensive. It costs quite a bit to go ahead and get it converted. So I was quite lucky when I found this Fuji X-T10 for sale. So, like I said, I've been wanting a proper video infrared digital camera for quite a while. In fact, I've been doing a fair amount of research on how to do a conversion, and I have been looking at either doing it myself with a few mates who are pretty good with electronics, or going to, for example, this company right here. But I just didn't really have the money to go ahead and spend, about $1,000 on a second-hand decent digital camera, and then if I went ahead and got it converted, well, there'd probably be almost another $1,000 because I have to ship it off to America, get them to convert it, get them to send it back. That all took time, costs, effort, and money that I just really didn't want to go ahead and spend at the time. So I knew that it was going to be expensive for me to get a digital infrared camera that shot video. And I was looking at a starting price of 2,000 New Zealand dollars, if not more, and most likely quite a bit more, or converting one of my cameras. So I was quite lucky when I came across this listing for this Fuji X-T10. It's a 10-year-old APS-C camera by Fuji that shoots video footage. I think it even does 4K. And the camera would normally cost $600 New Zealand secondhand, but it had already been converted, so it was a steal for me because it would cost probably another $600 to $1,000 to have it converted. And I didn't have to spend that money going ahead and sending it away. So it was too good a price to turn down, and I purchased it as soon as I possibly could. Technically, this is more than an infrared digital camera. Technically, this is a full spectrum digital camera. And technically, all digital cameras are full spectrum. They come like that normally. It's just how the sensors work. They are sensitive to way beyond what we can normally see. So what does the manufacturer do? The manufacturer puts a filter in front of the sensor, and that blocks both UV and beyond, and infrared and near infrared and beyond. So for this camera to see infrared, we have to go ahead and remove that filter. But that means that it goes ahead and starts seeing wavelengths of light that I don't want to have in my infrared footage. So what I have to do is grab one of my infrared filters, the same ones that I use for shooting infrared film, put it at the front of my lens, and now I will only shoot and see in infrared when it comes to shooting my footage. So I don't know if this saying's correct, maybe I'm misquoting something along the lines of comparison is the enemy of creativity. I do believe that you shouldn't try to go ahead and compare yourself to others, and try be yourself when it comes to whatever artwork you are making, even if that doesn't reach a broader audience. Case in point, probably my artwork. But I do want to speak for a second about one little thing. Not trying to compare myself to Mr. Grainy Days himself, the king of film YouTube, but I did watch his video where he shot with some infrared digital footage and used that as his B-roll. And for me, I don't think he applied the technicality of shooting in infrared in the best way possible, in my opinion. When it comes to shooting anything, you want to go ahead and understand its strengths, understand its weaknesses, and remove the weaknesses and then apply the strengths. And that way you go ahead and get favorable outcomes. And that's something that I've tried to do with having infrared footage via my digital camera. If you take, for example, my Kodak HIE video, by shooting in infrared and then making sure that I have the right background, but also the right time of day, I ended up with some very, very strong footage. I played into its strengths, and that's something that I'm trying to do with my artwork going forward when shooting with this camera. And that's kind of my point with a lot of things, really, is what's your intention? And it's something I have to ask myself more. If you're going to go ahead and get yourself a full spectrum camera, make sure that you take that into account. It isn't just a fun thing to shoot with or something that's very indifferent. You want to go ahead and use its difference to highlight things. And that's what I'm intending to do when I shoot this footage. By putting it into the world of infrared and pulling myself into that world, it highlights a point of view that we otherwise do not see. So there is a difference between shooting infrared film and shooting infrared on a digital camera. And that main difference is sensitivity. Digital cameras are way more sensitive to infrared light than film. The only film that was really sensitive to infrared light was Kodak's HIE. And HIE has not existed for almost 20 years since it's been discontinued. And the film stock that's out there, you get very different results when shooting with it. You can get some very underexposed or very overexposed or very damaged, possibly extremely grainy background radiation, all that nonsense in those shots. It's just completely unreliable and does not age well. So really, out there when it comes to shooting film, you're only left with low ISO film stocks like Rollei's infrared, which is like ISO 6, 1.5. And that's just nowhere near as sensitive as a digital camera. A digital camera, when it comes to shooting in infrared light, is sensitive when it comes to shooting infrared as it is shooting anything else, in particular, just the normal wavelength of light that you see. So what that means is if, for example, you're going ahead and you are wanting to do video footage, you are gonna need an ND filter, because anyone that has shot video footage on a digital camera knows that you want to go ahead and make sure that your shutter speed is not anything that is faster than 60th to 125th of a second, which means you cannot control your amount of light coming through via the exposure triangle. So you're going to need an ND filter. And I would highly recommend getting yourself a variable ND filter. This will allow you to have the max amount of range for shooting. So that way you can still shoot when it's much more darker, but you can also go ahead and shoot in very bright conditions without having adjustable ISO. So you can keep your ISO down low and not have too much grain. I guess a part of the difference that there is between film and digital infrared is that you can't really go out and shoot infrared video footage on film. There really isn't a film stock available for it apart from FPP's infrared. However, that's a 16mm film. while 16mm cameras are more available than 35mm cameras for us average Joes, still it's quite prohibitively expensive compared to a digital infrared camera. So if you're going to be going out and shooting infrared footage, you're going to be doing it digitally. Even the big pros, like I think David Villeneuve, or whatever his name is, and a couple of the other big cinematographers, only shoot infrared footage on digital cameras because really it's just not available otherwise. So I've just spoken as to why film infrared and digital infrared are two different beasts. But let me speak to how I combine those two worlds. Fuji cameras are known for their emulations, but some might not know is you can put the emulation straight into the footage. So what I do is I use the black and white emulation on this camera. That means that the footage you see is the footage I'm seeing. There really isn't much adjustment in post. Generally, I don't even use contrast or even highlights or shadows. What I shoot is with intention, and I think that's incredibly important. So if you are looking for a digital infrared camera that shoots video footage, possibly take that into account, especially in this modern era, and if that is the kind of artist that you want to be. Now, I'm going to leave you be and get on with the rest of my day. As always, it's been real, guys. You will see in just a moment some footage that I've recorded on this camera that is a way to see the world that you've possibly never seen it before.
And as you can see, my hand is like
Shaky.
shaky as fuck, so like the footage is going to be...
Can you let me hold it?
You can try. Go ahead, grab it. Yeah.